This isn't gonna work well.
It's fun.
If you're thinking about getting into model railroading or you're already an addict, boy, do we have a project for you in this episode. Oh yeah, baby. Hey, welcome back to the hobby room, to the Brown Smith Railroad, and to the Switch Junction reintegration well underway. Boy, it's March 1st, and it's a Friday, and I just got home from work, and like many of you probably, what a week I've had. I don't even know where to begin, so let's not get into that, but let's just say I'm really looking forward to getting some model railroad stuff done today. So we're gonna get on it. What I'd like to get done today is to get the wiring done, get the DCC connected and the track cleaned, and see if we can run a locomotive somewhere in the complex over here. So we're gonna get started on that right now. So the first couple of rail joiners we want to solder are these two right here, and here's why. This used to be one piece of track, and then I cut it out, I put in a curved turnout, and now that's gone, and we're putting a piece of track back in. I didn't want to mess with this piece because it's connected to a turnout, yada, yada, yada. That's the way it is. So what I decided to do then is put this little piece in, but now because of the radius, it's kinked right there. It's not a nice smooth turn. I'm not really thrilled with that. Now, what I'm gonna do to do that, I'm gonna take this pin right here, and I'm gonna sort of shove it in here, and then force the track over until this rail is completely straight with that one. Stuff it into the roadbed. Boom, just like that. That is a straight line. My problem is over here, it's not straight anymore. So I'm gonna have to solder this one on and then realign that one, and then hopefully Bob's your uncle. So let's get the soldering iron out and go for it. As many of you may know, soldering is my least favorite thing in the world when it comes to the hobby model railroading, but it's something that needs to be done from time to time, so here we go. I've got some rosin here that I bought from Radio Shack on the end of this pin, and I'm gonna put it right in here. Look, it's all globbed up. It looks terrible. I hate soldering. Did you hear me say that already? What this does is it lowers the melting point of the solder, plus it cleans, in theory, the area that you're going to be soldering. So I've got that rosin on there now. And now I'll bring in the solder and the soldering iron. Now there's something I'd like you to keep in mind here. I don't want you to learn how to solder from watching me, because I'm no good at it. My friend Ron at Ron's Trains and Things has got some great YouTube videos on how to solder, and you need to go check out his stuff, because that will make it work. So look at that, we get the solder in there, and let it flow on the rail joiner, like that. And look at that, I soldered. I also melted that railroad tie right there. Man, I suck at this. Anyway, there's one done. I'm gonna align this other rail and solder it, and we'll keep going. I don't know how well you can see that, but the solder kind of came up over on this side of the rail right here. It's sticking up a little too high. You know, I'm gonna file that off later and make a good connection there. So anyway, we should be able to pull these pins out, and boom, it looks good to me. Here's another set of rail joiners I'd like to solder in, and that is the little piece of track between that turnout and that turnout. Now here's the deal with this. It's a really short span, and it curves in that span. And so what I need to do is solder all 4 rail joiners to hold it in place. What I'm hoping is that this is such a small piece that whatever expansion or contraction we will get from temperature changes will be mitigated, because it's so small. It's not like a super long piece of track that we have to deal with. It's a really small one. So I'm gonna go for it. Worst case scenario down the road, once this is all ballasted and installed, if it poses a problem, I will cut me a notch somewhere in the track so that it doesn't cause problems anymore. But for now, let's just solder those in place. So while we're sitting over here and got everything hot with the soldering iron, why don't we just go ahead and see if we can reattach these feeders. I'm reaching under the layout right now. I'm pulling this blue one down to where it's supposed to go. Right there. Now I'll pull the black one down. And the black one needs a little help, it looks like. It's not actually coming down next to the rail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it back up, or pull it back up, let's just say, with my needle nose pliers. I'll bend the end of it over like that, and then pull it back down. And boom. Again, if you want to see this done pretty, you gotta watch a different channel, because this is how it gets done over here. So that is engaged with that rail, and that one is as well. So the same thing, we'll put the rosin on there and then solder that thing together. We're gonna clean this off later, so I'm just gonna douse it, baby. Make that happen. That's how I do things over here. Well, it's soldered on there, and I'll say it again. You want to see some pretty soldering done? You got to go somewhere else, because I suck at this. This is my least favorite part ever. To know if it's at least connected, we run, see how the track's moving? I'm pulling the wire from the other side. It's connected to the track, but I'll need to go through and file this off later right here, because it's sticking up above the track. The train will hit that and bounce a little bit. Probably gonna have that same problem where the rail joiners are as well. All right, so for the regular guy version, soldering those rail joiners actually went okay. I think, whatever. It's not pretty, but it's gonna work. So the next thing we'll do is start dropping some feeder wires down to connect the rest of the track to the DCC. Now keep this in mind. I already have wiring done in a lot of this area from the previous installation, but the new track that we've added needs to get some holes drilled, some wires run, have them soldered so we can make it up. So we're gonna do that, but I think just like when I'm at work, I always start with the most difficult thing, and that is a little situation we have back here that I'm gonna bring in closer and show you right now. So if you've been watching the show for a while, you will recognize these two pieces of track as being brand new. This one goes up to the logging camp, this one goes to the coal mine. And here's the situation. Up at the logging camp, we have feeders that are actually sending power down through here. So I kind of got power here already. Don't really need to do anything. Back up that way just a little bit, where we attach the track to the existing stuff. If I solder those two rail joiners, I'm pretty confident I'll get power, and I still got a little gap here for expansion and contraction. Not a big deal. Right over here, we got power coming up from switch junction, and if I solder that rail joiner, I'll have consistent power. Again, not a big deal. This rail right here, though, poses a problem, and that is this. It is only getting power through this point back here, which means two things. One, if I open the point, it just dies. There's nothing there, which I would never do if I was doing an operation there, but whatever. But I have noticed that you can get poor contact between the point and the rail, even in that position, which means I still wouldn't get power there. I'd have to clean it out. It's problematic. Whatever with that. I want to get a feeder wire from this rail down and get a good solid connection. So I'm going to do that. But here's the problem, folks. I got that much styrofoam right there, and then there's plywood, and then, oh my gosh, I don't have a drill bit that's that long. But I came up with a solution. I am going to take this massive skewer that I made and I'm going to drive it right down that way and have it pop out the styrofoam on the backside and just drop below the layout. But this right here, yeah, that's pretty much sculpt-a-mold, and it's as hard as a rock. So we need to do a little drilling action, I think, through it just to make my life easy. So what I've done is I got my drill bit, I got it on my drill, and I'm just going for it. I am going to put a hole right here, right down through the sculpt-a-mold, like that. That's fine and dandy. Then we'll take this super skewer we made, put it in the hole, and the hole's not big enough. But if I make a bigger hole, I'm afraid I'll screw up the track. So we'll just grab the hammer here and just pound that sucker in. And that is all the way through. Can I pull it out? That's the big question. Uh-oh. Come on, baby. There you go. Got that out of there. Make sure we're good to go. Hopefully I can get a wire down through there. And then when the wire gets up here, it'll be above ground a little bit until it gets to the rail, but I intend to put some scenery and stuff there that we can hide it with. So let's grab some wire. Something to keep in mind with my little railroad is all the tracks facing inside are one polarity, facing outside are another polarity. Since this makes a loop and comes out here, this is technically an outside wire. And for the outside, I'm using black. So I've got a black wire. This is just number 22 stranded black wire. And see if we can just push it through that hole. And see if we can get it to come all the way throughout the back. It's struggling with it. Twist it around here and there. And boom, made it out the other side. I think what I'm gonna do here is take the end of that with my needle nose and bend it a little bit so that when I put it back down on there, it actually lands on the flange of the rail relatively flat. So I don't have to hold it in place with something. And it's so far back there and my zoom only works so well, I guess you need to trust me on this one. That sucks, doesn't it? So I'll get the old rosin thing happening again. And then get the old solder thing happening again. Well, it's connected. Like I said before, most of this is existing, except this track was existing, but I cut out the part that's got the feeder wires on it. So we need to go ahead and get some feeders here. I got to get some here, here, and here. So to do that, we're just going to take our drill with a drill bit on it, big enough to accommodate the wire, and just sink it down in there. And just for the heck of it, make sure there's no frame under here. There's not. I'm going to go through and I'm going to drill a hole right next to these ties. And through the plywood. One thing to point out, my friends, is when you drive that drill down through there, don't let it just bounce down onto there, because I made a mistake last time I did this and I let the drill hit the track, and what happened is it actually kinked the track right there. I had to replace it all. So let's not do that this time. That's all we need to do right there. So I got those 4 holes drilled. I'll drill the other holes I need to drill right now, and then we're gonna put some wire through here. So I got my holes drilled. It's easy enough. We just send the wire down through the hole like this. I'll just run all my black wires down, leave plenty of slack just so we can get some power to this sucker, okay? And it'll be so exciting. I don't even know what to do with myself right now. Same thing, run it down. So I decided that I would tin the wires before I actually bend them into submission. And so to do that, I want to just hold this one in place with my little helping hand tool here, like that. Do like we would do any other time and sort of coat this sucker with some of this rosin stuff. Which, by the way, when it heats up, it really smells good. I like it. It makes the hobby room smell so fresh and clean. And we come through and heat up the end of it. And apply the solder. There, I love it. By tinning it first, when I go to bend it, all those little strands aren't going to pop out. Let's see how accurate I am describing that right now. We bend it as if it was going towards the rail, and then cock it to the side to grab the rail. And well, there you go. And now with all the wires soldered, let's go through and just quickly tin the rails. Well, it's attached. Looks terrible. And I'm really hoping that I can cover that up with some ballast and some paint. So I'm gonna go through and solder the rest of those on. Then I'll make up the bottom, plug in the DCC, see if we can't get a train running. Boom, baby. Well, there you go. We've got the wiring done, and I'm not gonna show you the wiring under the layout because it looks terrible, but that's because it's just temporary. I just wanna see if these tracks work before I go any further. When we get to the point where we're gonna run some real wiring under there, I'm gonna show you all of that, all right? But DCC is connected. All we gotta do now is clean the track. Now, some of this track has been sitting around in my office in a whole nother city for a while, and it's probably pretty dirty. And then, of course, we got the new track we put in that's gonna have some factory residues or who the heck knows what on it. So I'm gonna clean it before we try to run a train. Then what I'm gonna use to do that is this green shop rag that I have actually been using for a couple of years now to clean my track, and then 70% isopropyl alcohol. I have just found that if I take this rag and take this alcohol and rub it, for the most part, I'll see the stuff on the rag. I know the rails are getting clean. I'm gonna go through and clean all these rails right now, and then we'll try to run a train on this thing.